The original Dexter series was one of my favorite TV shows during its original run, and it was a good television show that I think overstayed its welcome a bit. And then, when it finally did end some 2 or 3 seasons past when it should have, I thought the writers missed an obvious opportunity to give the fans the ending that Dexter, as a show and as a character, truly deserves, which was disappointing. Then, almost 10 years later, we got Dexter New Blood, and though I didn't like bringing the show back from a narrative perspective, I figured it was a chance for the writers to right the wrongs of the original show where the ending was concerned. But they whiffed on that too, which disappointed me even further. So when I heard that we were getting yet another Dexter show, I'll admit I wasn't all that optimistic, as the writers over at Showtime have proven they don't quite know what to do with Dexter. And after watching the first episode of Dexter Original Sin, I stand by that opinion. Now, first of all, I knew this show wouldn't be the same without Michael C. Hall on screen in the title role, even though I'll admit that there is some intrigue when it comes to the subject of how Dexter became the serial killer that we all came to know and love. Now, the showrunners try to trick you into giving them a pass on that by having Michael C. Hall continue as the inner voice of Dexter, but in my opinion, it just isn't enough. And on top of that, having all brand new actors playing younger versions of the original cast feels like buying the generic brand of an item when the brand name version of that item, the version that you're used to, is sitting right next to it on the shelf in the supermarket. And the small writing here comes off as super cringe. You can tell the writers are trying really hard to recreate the personalities of beloved characters, but I think they went a little too far with it. And on top of that, the actors can't really pull it off the way that their counterparts did in the original show, which is no real surprise in this case. I also don't really like how we got here, and by that I mean the writers deciding to tie this show directly to Dexter New Blood. I will, however, throw the writers a bone in that I thought the episode beats were fairly fluid, and they did an expert job of incorporating the lore of the original show. Now look, guys, there is no such thing as a perfect TV show, meaning that there is no television show without mistakes or bad creative choices that weigh it down. But Dexter Original Sin is a misguided attempt at squeezing all the juice out of a franchise that, quite frankly, could have ended being looked upon more fondly if not for the writers screwing up the endings of the shows that inhabit it not once, but twice already. It's also a show that isn't going to have a very long shelf life, but since we appear to be getting yet another Dexter show in Dexter Resurrection, I guess it really doesn't need one. Dexter Original Sin will run new episodes weekly, which I understand from a business perspective, though I don't think the show is strong enough to keep its numbers up over the next 2 months. I guess the good news here is that since this is a show that's a prequel series, there's little room for the writers to screw up the ending. But depending on how you feel about the original series, this show is one that sits right on the line between waiting to binge all at once or skipping altogether.